Okay, welcome everybody back to Steve Talks Boxing X, STBX, where we talk real boxing with real boxing fans. And this week's show, well, we're talking about this Saturday's rematch in Oleksandr Usyk versus Tyson Fury. And I'm pleased to say joining me this week is Amit Champaneri. Thanks, Amit, for coming on the show. Really appreciate that.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks for coming back for, let's face it, biggest fight of the year possibly. So,
Could well be. My first question to you, Amit, regardless of the boxing, what did you make of the fight trailer? Do you think Usyk and Fury have a career in acting after boxing?
You know what, Steve? They might have a little sideshow going on here. You know, you got to think about the after boxing. Not everyone gets into training or media, and you know, you never know. There might be something there. Out of the two, I think Fury just about edged it. To be honest, throwing off the table, and you know, like when he was throwing the plate off, there's quite a lot going on there for Fury. But no, it's pulling the rest, isn't it? It was incredible. Yeah. I mean, it's just your imagination straight away.
I was going to say the trailers seem to get strength to strength really with what they're coming up, the imagination, what they're coming up with. But I agree. I think maybe Fury after boxing, a little movie career perhaps.
I think so. There's lots of roles he could play, couldn't he? Really, you know. So 6'9" giant, he'll be in a few offers coming his way, I'm sure. And Usyk being such a character, I mean, he could go into juggling, all sorts, can't he? He has lots of skills. I'm not sure he needs.
He could be like do a magical act or something with his boxing skills and displays what he does anyway, of the little things what he does. But it's certainly great.
It's a top one. Yeah, I mean, there's not one person that said it was amazing, and it's true. And it's great, the whole mind games thing and whatever. And good sports doing it as well, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Okay, let's rewind to the first fight. Let's go back to that first fight. For you, Amit, what happened to Fury in that round 9? There's still people talking about it now. What happened to Fury in that round 9?
I think he got a bit tired. He just got caught, honestly, Stephen. He got caught badly, and look, he recovered. I mean, in the sense that he was bouncing all around the ropes, and arguably ropes kicked him upright. It was definitely standing 8 count territory, but he survived. Is what Tyson Fury does. The guy's recovery level is unheard of. You know, like how many boxers get up from what he's done, like Wilder won, for example. So
that's probably the most illustrated bit of recovery we've ever seen in boxing, isn't it? Really
crazy stuff. But no, I mean, like many, I was watching it, you know, obviously on the TV, and I thought it'd been stopped, honestly. But the ref, personally, I think he did the right thing. He led him after standing 8. He was clearly, if it wasn't for the ropes, he would have been down. Sure. And should be very happy that it's with 30 seconds to go, because I think it'd have been longer. Obviously, he probably would have got stopped. But yeah, I mean, I've not seen him rocking like that. That was ferocious precision punching from Usyk and demonstrating the power. Right, that's the thing that he didn't think he would have.
Yeah, it pretty much knocked pillow to post. My next question, you kind of covered it, was should the referee stop the fight though? If it weren't a unification fight, would that fight been stopped?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you listen to all these podcast things, Steve, and I think some refs, doesn't matter what the occasion is, they go by the rule book, and you could have argued that he could have been stopped because he was totally out of it. Saying that is that towards the end of the round, and it is let's face it, one of the biggest fights for decades, ideally. So arguably, so I would say that it was the right call to not stop it. He gave him the standing 8. He gave him the opportunity. I think that's sensible. And also, look, refs know fighters. Fury has ridiculous powers of recovery, as we just said. So I think he's going to give him every single opportunity. And then say you look at, say, I don't know, like the Carl Froch, George Groves fight. That was almost like, Carl Froch went down heavy, and there wasn't any indication that he was going to stop that. But all the discussion was about Groves, is he a bit chinny, whatever, and would that influence the ref? That's the thing. I think a part of this is about reputation, and he did a great job. Right decision.
So you're saying if that was AJ, they probably would stop the fight? Would you say?
I mean, he didn't get rocked like that against Usyk, so so there we go. But I think after the Dubois fight, certainly, I think unfortunately Adrian's probably going to be in that boat. They're going to stop it and do it. But Fuse, we know what he can get up from. So no, definitely the right call.
Sure. Did you agree on the verdict in the first fight, that the decision. Did you agree with that?
Funny enough, I went back and we were both active on Twitter, Steve, and so forth, and I actually scored it 115, 112 to Usyk. So I had it with
3 rounds.
Yeah, I had it 3 rounds. But the funny thing is now the narrative seems to be that Tyson got an absolute drubbing, and he just didn't. It was a competitive fight. Round 6, he had Usyk in all sorts of trouble. Body shot, caught him a really good shot on the chin. I mean, Fury handled himself quite well. Yeah, he's doing a lot of showboating in the early stages, which he's got to learn from, right? Because he's got to put it on Usyk clearly, which what he's going to. But no, it was closer than people think. Right, Coldo, Usyk won for me. But 3 rounds, it's not a landslide, is it? Realistically. So, and that's including the 10-8. So, right call, Usyk definitely won in my view. But it's a close fight, incredible fight. But this idea that Fury was just destroyed by Usyk and he's going to go in and destroy him again. I mean, you've got to rewatch that fight without rose-tinted glasses, really, because it was a close one.
Sure. We know, obviously, Tyson Fury has a huge ego, to say the least. That first defeat to Usyk, will it bear any psychological effects on him? Because he had this persona of being unbeaten and never being beaten.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, how will fighters respond to a defeat? Look at Lewis. I mean, he had much more disastrous defeats than what Fury did. Ultimately, it was still a close fight, and he wasn't knocked out, was he? Against Usyk. So, and then look, he's come back and won both rematches. It'd be interesting how he does kind of come back and what's his mentality. I think he's been through a lot in his life, obviously outside the ring as well as in the ring. It's just the fact that he's in these fights is pretty short of incredible, let's face it, with what he's gone through mentally and losing the weight and whatever. So clearly he's got powers of recovery in lots of different ways. I don't think so. I think look, he, as much as what he talks, Usyk's a top level fighter. I think he was shocked by the level of Usyk's skills with his size. The power certainly shocked him. And I think if anything, you would hope he's going to come in here with a different mindset. He knows what he's fought him now. He knows what he's got. He probably knows what he needs to do. So psychologically, it's a factor, but I think he's going to go one of 2 ways, isn't he? He's either going to be haunted by that and he just can't get over it, or he's going to come in and he's going to think, look, I've got to correct this. And you'd hope it would be the latter. Yeah.
So you would say the ego is maybe a bit dented, but it's still a bit there.
Yeah, it's a bit there. I think Fury's Fury. You know what he talks openly about lots of things. He comes out with lots of stuff. This is a lot of it's bravado, a lot of it's he's a charismatic guy. He's always going to come up with odd things. So that ego is partly just his persona almost. But I think with this, even in his early part of this week, he's looking in business mode. So I think if anything, this is I've got to knuckle down and do something here special to beat Usyk.
Yeah. What did you, talking of mindset, really, what did you make of, I think it only just recently come out in the last 24 hours, of Tyson not speaking to Paris for 3 months? Do you believe that?
Not so sure, Steve.
No,
yeah,
okay.
It's quite.
Did you not talk to your missus for 3 months?
No, I don't think I'm married much longer if that's the case, Steve. But yeah, I mean, fight camp's fight camp, and obviously you hear of fights like I remember Steve Collins in pod saying that he never just kept to his family, shut out. I mean, Tyson's a very family-oriented guy. He's got obviously a massive family as well. I don't know, possibly. I mean, it'd be interesting. I don't think he's ever done that. He's obviously been away. He's had camps away from the family, clearly. Yeah. He's not stayed at home. So it's possible, but quite a headline grabber, though, isn't it? So maybe it's just one of those things.
Do you think that shows he's... Yeah, obviously he was serious in the first fight, but he's trying to try something different, perhaps. It's an extra little edge, maybe. That's what he's thinking. He needs them little edges to conquer Usyk.
War mode. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe this is it. Maybe it's what the defeat's done to him, Steve. It could be that mentality where he's like, I think I heard him in that interview with Steve Bunce, who basically said, "Look, I can't be dad or husband. I've got to be warrior, and therefore I respect to him." In that sense, makes sense. He's clearly just totally on this. His camp's clearly going to be been different this time round. So it probably means he's serious, and. Yeah, the mind games don't work with Usyk because he's got to do something else, right?
Yeah,
That's the thing. So maybe this is the way down.
Half the time they just go over Usyk's head, really. So he just doesn't take it in. Yeah. A lot was talking about the weight of Fury. Do you think he should weigh in heavier for this fight?
I think it doesn't make sense to come in heavier. I think the rumors he's going to put on the stone sounds a lot. And bearing in mind Usyk's mobility and how he goes around the ring, I think being too heavy is probably not going to be in his favor. Saying that he can definitely come in heavier. I mean, the idea that he's coming anywhere near the Ngannou weight sounds crazy. To be honest with you, Steve, because like you're facing a moving target and you don't know what he's going to do. They're both very unpredictable fighters, but if you look at, I guess you kind of go to this second Wilder fight. He came in heavier. He went for power. He went for a really, absolute pressure. But that's Wilder, and I think no one shocked everyone by doing it, and what he did to Wilder obviously absolutely destroyed him. But Usyk, coming on to Usyk with his skill set, it's not as simple as that. Everyone keeps saying just push Usyk. I think he's got to do a bit of Klitschko tactics. He's got to grab him. He's got to hold him. He's got to disrupt his flow, put his weight on him. But Usyk's a strong guy. You can push him back, but that's where the weight's going to make a difference. And if he wants to,
on the weight,
he says he wants to go and obviously stop him. They're both talking about stopping each other. So obviously a bit more weight, a bit more power is going to help with that tactic if he's going for it. But it's a heavier, maybe half a stone, but the idea of going for a stone or whatever sounds too much.
Yeah, from what I've seen from him, it doesn't look, from like training photos and media photos, he doesn't look much different, to be honest with you. So
could be a bit of kinology, stick a couple of weights in. Or something.
Always does, yeah. I think that's my excuse for after Christmas. You see, Amit, I use that. So,
but natural weights.
It's natural, yes, natural weight. I'm coming around. Yeah. How much of a factor? Again, this was another talking point this week. Was the lack of extensive sparring leading up to that first fight due to that cut delaying it, the fight, that is.
Yeah, that had to be a factor, because I think not just the sparring, but the idea that the cut was there. I know there was this thing around he'd have to pay out, was it $10 million or whatever that. I'm not sure about all that, but that aside, he would have been very conscious of that cut because it was huge. And so if he was doing any form of sparring, any form of training, you can't let it open up again. You have to let it heal. So it would have been on his mind naturally. And let's face it, he needs to be razor sharp against Usyk and someone like Usyk. So I think sparring will have affected his preparation 100%. Saying that, who can replicate Usyk? I think it's more about like who do you choose? He's such a unique fighter. So, and southpaw as well. Tricky. Just his skill, like his combinations, counter punch. Offensive. He's a unique fighter. So it's going to make him definitely sharper. But the idea of obviously having someone to replicate would have been difficult anyway. But it's not going to not harm him, Steve. I think the preparation all round this time round would have been better. You would have hoped would be better for Fury.
A lot better, yeah. Going back to Usyk, what sort of motivation has Usyk to fight Fury again and beat him?
It's about for Usyk now. Look, clearly he loves a challenge. He doesn't back down from anything, and he wants to prove himself to be one of the best ever. And beating Fury, your main rival in one undisputed, even just forget the belts, the two best heavyweights in the world, beating him twice. He's beaten AJ twice. He's beaten Dubois, who's now a world champion in his own right. Obviously been undisputed at cruiserweight, by far the best. This is legacy fight for Usyk, isn't it? And he's all about competition. I think he just loves to fight, Steve. And he's fighting the best. And let's face it, the money on offer is beyond, he's probably made enough already, but as a prize fighter, this is as big as it's going to get. Who's going to get a stage like this? This is just so. For me, Usyk's drive and his momentum is that he's going into that top 10 heavyweights of all time.
I was going to say, is it that more that legacy? He wants to be remembered as a Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. He wants to be that sort of legacy.
It's funny. Even Lewis was saying, look, Usyk beating Fury twice. He's going to be up there, right? And that's coming from, let's face it, one of the best ever. So, it shows the level. So, plenty of motivation for Usyk. The idea that he was just going to, I think I've beaten him. I'm at the top. I'm going to quit. He's talking about going back down to cruiserweights. He's clearly motivated about fighting still, and there's no bigger fight than him than this rematch. And I'm sure he'll probably continue as well.
Okay, going back to Fury, if he wins, he becomes a 3-time heavyweight champion. That's pretty hard. We've seen AJ attempt that and fail. What kind of achievement is that? We was talking about legacy. Will that be a legacy for Fury?
Huge. I mean, beating Usyk, so it would be 1-1. Again, your main competitor. Ultimately, he hasn't fought Joshua when they're both at the peak, so that clearly is in the background for Fury. Obviously, we're not talking about the AJ now, like when they're both at the very top. Obviously, he had that trilogy against Wilder, which is obviously incredible. So, again, for Fury, Fury, it's about correcting the wrong, and he's got to do that. He's the one who's been much more vocal about being one of the best heavyweights of all time, and putting himself right up there with Muhammad Ali. Let's face it, and that's just, again, part of his charisma. But if he wants to be remembered, he has to beat Usyk. Yeah, I don't think there's any way around that. If you're losing twice to Usyk and whatever else he goes on to do, he was not the best of his era. So for Fury, one three-time heavyweight champion. Obviously, look, the first time the belts were given up, he never lost them in the ring. So the fact that he came back from what he's come from is legacy in itself, Steve. So, and then to have gone into what he's got to is incredible in itself. But it
could be a fairy tale ending, couldn't it? Really, if you look
absolutely, at it. Absolutely. So the motivation's there for Fury. Let's face it, to correct the wrong and keep himself in that discussion of the best heavyweights of all time, because beating Usyk would put him right back up there again. Yeah.
Do you agree with the decision that Tyson Fury's corner remains the same as it was for the first fight?
I do agree, but I think less voices, clearly. I think it's tricky, isn't it? Because he knows those voices, and look, Sugar Hill is let's face it, that's his main trainer. He's the one who drove those victories against Wilder. I think Andy Lee is highly respected as a trainer in his own right. So 2 voices there, as long as they're collaborative and they're not over each other. There's one individual in that corner that we heard a lot of in that fight, Big John Fury, the fighting man. And I'm not sure what his role is. Clearly, he's not been on the scene. He's been deliberately kept out to this point, which is probably a smart thing. So I'm not sure how involved he is, but I don't see why he would swap it up. I think that, look, he's got beat by generational great fighter in Usyk, and it was close. He lost, but it was a close fight. It wasn't a whitewash. It wasn't knocked out in 2 rounds or something. So I think this is tweaks as opposed to wholesale change.
A lot of people were criticizing, obviously, so many different instructions going around. Should just have one voice in the corner. So, but you think it's okay?
Yeah, maybe we'll see a difference in that. Maybe Sugar Hill is the one who will be that one voice. I imagine it's going to be a lot more corner in that corner this time round, because he's going to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D with Usyk. So he's going to need that input from the corner, and they're going to have to be really, really clear. And I think if you have 2-3 voices in there, right or wrong, you need that coherent voice. And I imagine that's what we're going to see this time. I think there's a lot of faith in Sugar Hill, so I think that's where hopefully we'll see
the main instructions coming from. And you mentioned John. There he is.
There he is.
There he is. Should he be kept away from all the presses this week? What do you think?
Absolutely, Steve. There's no point sitting on the defense with this. That's his dad, and I get all that. In the background, whatever he needs, he's going to be there. He clearly wants his dad around him, but he's just a hindrance. The Ngannou fight, absolutely terrible. Some stuff that was going on. The guy who wants to fight everyone and then fights no one. All this talk. It's just how can it not be disruptive? At one point it was comical and it was quite funny, and now it's just embarrassing. It can only be embarrassing. It can only be a hindrance to Fury, and for us watching, it's just cringeworthy. So absolutely keep him away. Whatever his role is, fine, but hopefully he's not there during this week, making a scene of himself, and certainly not getting into any fights with, Usyk's team, or attempting to anyway.
I agree. Keep him locked away.
Less is more. Less is more, Steve.
Sure. Going back to the fight, has anybody got any idea how to beat Usyk, do you think?
no one's cracked it, Steve. And interestingly, the only person that I thought before the fight that could do something to Usyk would have been Fury. So, and obviously that didn't happen the first time. He's just not just a phenomenal boxer, but the belief in him and his adaptability. He has a bad round and he comes back with a better round and wins it. I mean, he did the same thing against Joshua, did the same thing against Fury. Whenever he's been in trouble, it's not like he then has trouble the next 2 or 3 rounds and recovers. It's his mentality, which is just incredible, along with those skills. Tough nut to crack, southpaw, got power in both arms. You can fight offensively, you can counter. And with that mentality, it's no wonder he is where he is, like 2-time undisputed. I mean, and all the stuff in the amateurs, it's just what a career.
Phenomenal. Who would you say is the closest in actually defeating Usyk today?
Has anyone come close?
Well,
I think, funny enough, of all the heavyweights, I know a lot of people make a lot about the Dubois fight, and yeah, no doubt about it. Look, clearly, he definitely caught him with body shots. It was a low blow in my view, by the way. So,
okay, not a body shot then.
no, but he did catch him with a few. Like he was clearly found the gap and went for it, but not the shot that dropped him in my view. And look, we saw what Usyk did to him when he got up, ultimately. And I think Dubois is a slightly different fighter now. Let's face it, with that mentality change. But interestingly, I mean, like Chisora, he was just starting out. Chisora was all over him. I remember, and he was uncomfortable. Yeah, he wasn't losing. He was never going to lose, but he was uncomfortable.
I think Usyk made a statement and said Chisora is the hardest puncher he's been in with. So there you go. So
yeah, relentless. And I think when you got that mindset, like I'm just going for it, I'm going to keep on top of him the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to beat him on points doing that? Probably not, but you're definitely going to pressurize him. He's not going to have as much time to think. But look, let's face it. If you're going to talk about Fury in round 6, he had Usyk in trouble, and again, powers of recovery mentality. He recovered, so no one's been. I mean, I think he was stopped and dropped by Beterbiev, I think, in the amateurs. I think it was a body shot. So, if you're going to go all the way back, clearly,
all the way back,
this body thing, I know it's a big sort of taboo subject for him, but he's been open in saying I've got no weakness there. So he's going to just toughen himself up in that area, isn't he? So but no one's cracked the code. Come close, cracking the code. Yeah, a bit like Mayweather, who could crack the code? I'm not sure, Steve.
Okay,
Yeah.
What can Fury do differently this time to secure the win then?
Yeah, it's a big question, isn't it? Like he's got to learn his tweaks. He's got to learn from what he's done. He's got to apply more pressure at the beginning. And I mean, obviously less on the showboating and just be getting behind that jab, more combinations. I mean, generally speaking, Fury punches in twos. It's not like as much as you see him kind of throwing lots of shots, he's generally in twos. So I think upping the work rate is going to be important. He needs to keep Usyk back. He's got to use his natural height, reach advantage. He's got to grab him. He's got to grapple him. He's got to unsettle him. And just be just keep on top of him, Steve.
Keep
ultimately,
on top of him, He can't afford Usyk to get into any sort of rhythm, can he? At all, really. So.
No, we've seen what happens when he's in that mode. It's very difficult to stop him. And look, he'll target the body again. I think he over relied on the body last time because of this whole idea that he was weak to the body. And then Usyk started seeing it. And he's getting countered, up top. So he's got the power clearly to hurt anyone. Fury with his size. He's not a knockout artist, one punch artist, but he's got the power to hurt Usyk, which we saw. So he's got to apply the pressure. He's got to do it in more bunches. And he's got to start faster because he can't let the fight run away in the first few rounds. It can't be a continuation of the last fight. This is round 13, isn't it? So he can't let that continue. He's got to start positive, and I think he's going to make a mark pretty quickly in Usyk to get him thinking.
Okay. How do you see the fight going? We're getting close to prediction time, but how do you see it going? Not prediction.
So I mean, I think it's gonna be one of two ways. It's gonna be either switching to very more tactical than the first one, and then slowly going back into that. Let's face it, because the first one was a lot more intense than we thought, Steve. It ended up being a real sort of ding dong battle when I think a lot of people thought it was going to be a bit of a chess match in terms of like, because they've both got incredible skills. So I think a lot of this depends on what Fury's going to bring. If he's going to bring the power and push forward, then we could see some real up and down moments where, he could be going to the canvas and getting back up. Or if he's going to really push Usyk and put him to a territory he's not been before, then Usyk's going to have to show that he can take those bigger punches. So it could be a real up and down fight, or it could become quite tactical. And I think that's what's quite intriguing about this fight. I think a lot of it depends on what is Fury going to do, because he can change it up. He's got, in a way, he's the one who can learn the most. I think if Usyk sticks to what he's done, and we know he's adaptable anyway, he'll be comfortable that he can do a similar thing to last time. So I think we could see some up and down moments. I think there's good potential of knockdowns as well, but it's not going to be quick. It's going to go to later rounds, certainly. And I think that's what's really intriguing about it. I'm really intrigued to see whether, I think Fury's going to really go after him. I think he's in that mindset. I'm going to try and stop him, and he's going to go for him. It's just whether he gets that reality check quite quickly that he just can't do that against Usyk.
Can't do that. Yeah, so you put this in maybe like a seesaw sort of fight, so each having their moments, really.
I think they're all going to have their moments. I think it's going to start I think he's going to go for it. He's going to realise it's not going to be that easy, but then we're going to see, similar to the first fight, it's going to be up and down. It's going to be very, very exciting. I think there's going to be some really, again, some iconic rounds where one's going to be on top of one and one's going to be on top of the other. It's going to be another entertaining fight.
Great. Okay, put you on the spot now. Prediction time, Amit. Who are you going for?
You know what? I said Fury the first one, but I think based on the last fight, I don't see Usyk stopping Fury. I know some people are kind of going down that route. I think it's going to be a ding dong battle, but I think he'll win on points. I'm going to be a bit safe with it, but I think he's going to win more comprehensively. Yeah.
So Usyk on the UD then.
On the UD, I think he'll win by UD, and I think we're going to see towards the end of the fight quite a domination of Fury. I'm kind of throwing it out there, I think, but I'm not sure it's going to have enough to stop him just because of Fury's level of recovery powers. But I also think that Usyk's going to have some troubles, and more troubles in this fight than the last one. But he will win. Fight, well, he will win by UD, in my view.
I'm agreeing with you, Amit. I'm totally with that. I think Usyk's got his number this time. A bit more, more clearly. I'm saying that UD by 3 or 4 rounds on this one for Usyk.
Because remember he lost one card, right? I think this is what people forget. It's like he was a UD and it's a complete domination. He lost one of those cards. I'm with you, Steve. I think this time I think there could even be official knockdowns here for Fury as well. We've seen him go down a lot, but he generally gets back up, and that's why I've got a feeling he'll survive, but it'll be more comprehensive a defeat.
Sure. A couple quick ones before you go, Amit. Who would you like the winner? Well, you said the winner, Usyk, to fight next.
It kind of points towards, obviously, there's still a bit of history with Dubois, and obviously Dubois has got his big fight with Parker coming up. So, again, do you go for that undisputed? Where's the motivation for Usyk? The next generation, it feels like it's a bit of a unique spot where the next generation is probably still a bit too young. Of Moses, Tomo, are all going to be great fighters in the future, but not right now. It's going to take a few years, and obviously Usyk at his age, how many more fights are going to have. So I think he'll naturally lean towards that Dubois Parker winner.
Not down to Cruiser.
I just think it'd be a bit mad to do it. Having seen, it's not quite the level what Roy Jones did, but Roy Jones is my favorite fighter, and it was never the same what he did. When he went to heavyweight and down to light, it destroyed him. So it's not that much of a drop, but it would be a drop. And again, who the fights that Cruiser? He's going to motivate me enough to not stay at heavyweight. So I would think he would just naturally target. And I think Tekel shit would just want another undisputed fight. So
wait, sure. Loser. So you're saying loser to fight Fury? Is that a gimme? We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago. Who would you like to see Fury fight if he loses?
I mean, if he wins, obviously they're talking about the run match right now. The trilogy would naturally make sense. If he's losing, then naturally the next step will be all roads lead to Mr. Anthony Joshua. In my view, I mean, it makes complete sense.
We'll say that to be honest with you, won't they still want to see that fight. If he loses, it makes sense, doesn't it? Really,
makes sense. Huge fight in the UK. That it's a Wembley sort of sellout. You'll be breaking a record, and they're both at that stage now where they need each other more than ever before. And there's no doubt Takeover will want to put it on.
Yeah.
So and it'd be a shame to not see it in the UK. That's what you'd hope. But yeah. Again, where's he really go? Like he's already fought Wilder. Like Dubois. That it could come up. I know Frank Warren's talked about it, but. Yeah, I think they just make the AJ fight. It makes complete sense.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, I assume come Sunday morning we're a bit wiser to maybe what will happen. So, but that's it for another show. Amit, really appreciate your time. Again, everyone, please tune in. Make sure you support the channel the best you can with likes, comments, and subscriptions. See if you agree with our decision. Both me and Amit are gone for Usyk on a U day. Much clearer this time, so we shall see. But appreciate your time, Amit.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me.